wholeness and balanced vibrations. And welcome to today's transmission, which is carrying on from Monday's transmission, where we spoke about a few of the terms in reality transurfing. And I shall carry on today to really reiterate various terms. But before I start, I invite you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so that you're notified on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Mondays and Fridays will very much be teaching lessons, and Wednesdays will be a culmination of both in a Wisdom Wednesday meditation. If you also have a look at the description below and my link tree, you will see that you can have a free discovery call with me in light of coaching, doing various breathing techniques, energy transmissions, and don't forget to receive your free energized painting. So if you recall, a while ago I did some practical sessions talking in the voice of Tufti, who is basically a priestess who lived in the temples of Isis 3,000 years ago. And she is a reality transurfer, talking from her future self, telling us all about all the various tools, terms in the glossaries that I've been speaking about reality transurfing. And she comes to you from time eternal, because eternity is wherever you like to be in this now moment, because you're always the central dot of the infinite circle, which is ever expanding as your consciousness. And Tufti really would like to tell you in due course throughout these teachings what you already innately know, but just to remember and make you aware of what you're already awake to. And she feels that we are in a world deprived of a self-instructional manual. If this was already taught to us in schools, we'd know more of who we are. But of course, her take on it is that we've basically washed our hands of self-instruction or self-knowledge about us and our existence in this world. For example, you think you have your own opinion, whereas in fact, your opinion has actually been implanted in you through layers and layers and layers of other people's opinions. And so coming from that space, you think that you're in control of your actions, whereas in fact, it is much more important to control your thoughts. But can you actually control your thoughts, even after you've meditated? Not really, because we go back, we get pulled back into the matrix system of the different layers of the world that we exist in. And how the world works and what's really happening is because we actually don't know. We don't know what to do with our lives because we're not completely awake to the other side of the metaphysical mirror that I spoke about on Monday, where everything already exists. And like I said, reality is like an onion, a multi-layered onion. But we're only aware of the two layers, the one on this side of the plane in the duality realm, which is known as the physical reality, in which we live, in which we taste, we smell, we see, we touch, we feel. And then there's the dream space that you see when you fall asleep every single night. The dream space is not a fragment of your imagination. It is actually real. And it takes the form of something like a film archive in which everything is stored that exists now, that ever was, that ever will be, and that ever could be, that has potential to exist, because existence always exists. We are the creators within the realm of existence. And so when you dream, you're actually watching one of your films from the archive. And in this sense, your dream is therefore real and an illusion at the same time, because you're seeing it as an illusion in the dream space. The film that you're watching is virtual, whilst the film role is material. Reality is what has never been and never will be, and is only in the here and now. And this is why reality exists only for that moment, that now moment that it exists in. Just like a frame on a film roll, which moves from the past to the future, and it will never ever exist again. A Zen master once said that you can never cross the same point in a river twice, because as the water flows through you, that same water will never flow through you again. In this way, life happens through you. The film rolls move through you. You are actually very still as that dot. Your life, or rather your essence or your soul, also moves from one incarnation into another. There was a time when you were a mouse, a fish, even a dinosaur, a reptilian, anything, a reptile. So you mustn't kid yourself that you have moved on a lot since then. And there is still a long way for you to crawl before reaching the perfect state of cosmic consciousness, of all, the oneness, the source, creation. And this is the reason why we forget about previous incarnations, or even ever incarnating before. And it seems like it's a separate life of our soul, a separate dream, if you like. The soul is not dependent on the presence of the body, but the body is only activated by a soul. And this is just one of the forms in which it can exist within the body. But the body is just a vehicle. It's like a biosuit to carry the soul. And so at this point you may ask, well, what's the point of all of these transformations and existences? These are the fundamental qualities of reality and life. Movement, transformation, because there will always be transformation. There will always be change. One of the laws of the universe. There will always be movement. For example, the caterpillar never knew that it was going to turn into a butterfly, but it did. And so there is an internal involvement and an external evolvement, and they're happening at the same time. So at your current stage of evolution, as human beings, we're in the caterpillar phase, quite small, within this cocoon, and that's how you are. But your potential to become a butterfly already exists. And so this sleeping and waking life that I've been talking about in the past couple of my YouTubes are roughly the same thing. They're the two sides of the coin. And so in the early years, we couldn't distinguish our dreams from our reality. When we were children, we didn't know. We thought what we dreamt was our reality, and what was in our reality was our reality as well. You see, we don't remember it. But back then, we did not think that there was a boundary or any difference between this world and the dream world. And then grown-ups came and planted different layers of their world onto us and explained to us that the world of dreams is just a product of your imagination. But this is not true. In fact, that's when being fed false beliefs that create layers within our world start to happen. And if you can imagine all the layers around your onion, around your false beliefs that you're carrying, is absolutely innumerable. So that world is just as real as this. It simply exists in another space. And we are moving from one space to another space when we wake up and when we go to sleep. How does this make you feel? Does this surprise you? Does this frighten you? Because we've really got to get used to the idea that dreaming and waking life that follows the dream are simply like life and death. Life is the dream, but death is the waking experience, and not the other way around. Life is the dream, and death is the waking experience. And there are 3 similarities and 1 difference between dreams and waking. The similarities are that both in the waking and in the dreaming, we are asleep. And because of this, we're simply helpless in both of them. This and the other reality exist independently of your will, your icha. I'm pausing here because it's a lot to take in. The second is that in both the spaces, reality moves like a frame in a film roll. Yet you don't understand that because you only know how to see what is right in front of you. We have lost the ability to look ahead because we started to believe what the grown-ups said to us about the dreams not being real. I see myself. I see my reality. And then the third thing is that the moving frame cannot be controlled. And the reason you don't control the movement is that your attention is stuck in the current frame that you're existing in. When you do understand this, you will be able to shift the reality. And so both in the dreaming and in the waking life, we are asleep. Dreams and everyday reality are a moving frame, and the frame's movement can be controlled, but we simply don't know how to. We don't control the movement within our dreams or in our life because we are asleep, and because we don't believe or think that it is possible that we can do so. So what does it mean to be asleep? Remember, I said that we were brought into the world. You were not given a manual when you were born into this world. And we spoke about the 2 screens, the inner screen and the outer screen. So you have the faculty of attention, and this attention is always directed either towards the inner screen in the inside or the outer screen or the outside. But last week I spoke about the central screen, the midpoint, the 0 point, the point where you wake up. And when you're lost in your thought, your attention is totally immersed in your inner screen, remember? where you may not be noticing what is actually happening around you or in your circumstances. You're almost in kind of an autopilot, lost in a daydream. And the opposite side is that when your attention is only occupied on the outer screen, the external screen, that you forget that you exist, you act in a way that only the outer screen exists. You allow your circumstances to take over. And this is what sleep is. It's a reflexive state in which our attention is completely immersed either in the inner screen or it's immersed either in the outer screen. And in this kind of state, you're helpless. You're controlled by one or the other, unable to either control yourself, because the inner screen is controlled by your thoughts, your beliefs. The outer screen is controlled by the circumstances, which is actually controlled by your inner thoughts of what's happening to you. And so in this sense, the sleeping and dreaming are not the same. Sleep is an anabiotic state, and a dream is something you either see either in the dream space or in the waking space. And so dreams and everyday reality are essentially the same. Reality is your waking dream. Reality is a dream, and a dream is also reality. So to wake up in a dream or in a waking reality, we must pull our attention away from the inner screen and the outer screen and shift it into that awareness center. It's almost like losing focus of both of these screens. And we're quite capable of doing this. It's very easy. For example, if you tap your fingers on the area of your nose, where you are just now, you can ask yourself, were you flying in your dreams or were you admiring the end of your nose? Where was your attention immersed in? Which screen was it in then? The outer or the inner? So that's just brought your attention to a particular part, the end of your nose. And you're not thinking about it from an inner perspective, and you're not looking at your outer reality. You've almost, like I mentioned, defocused from both. And that's like going to the midpoint. A lot of people meditate just by looking at the end of their nose. It takes the focus away from the inner and the outer screens. And finding a midpoint between the two screens is that center point. And it is from this central point that we are able to observe our thoughts and observe what's going on around us. And we will be able to see that the reality that surrounds us and yourself within this reality. And so nothing is stopping you from watching both the screens simultaneously at the same time. We can do this, and this is our 0 point. It's a very practical way of getting to the 0 point. I see myself, I see my reality. It's just that nobody ever told you about this, and nobody ever told you that this was possible. Grown-ups usually say to children, look over here, or listen to me, or do as I tell you. And you're immediately taught to put your attention on the outer screen. So when something does not work out, you get depressed, or you become unhappy, and your thoughts become small and helpless and unhappy. And you suddenly decide how unfortunate you are, and you fall into a victim stage. And this is when you start chaining yourself up to the inner screen of regurgitating thoughts all the time of, I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, self-worth, low self-esteem issues. And gradually your attention gets used to sticking to either one of the screens, without really realizing that your true self exists in the middle screen. And eventually you stop controlling the attention entirely. So it does not obey you. it starts to float outside of its own accord, and you fall into more and more of a state of a non-conscious, unconscious state. And this is where you can get easily controlled in this matrix that we live in. In this state, you're completely incapable of taking any effective action. You may be hurt, frightened, have a low vibration, be deceived, but you just simply cannot respond. You're constantly struggling with life, with emotions, and you start to depend on your external circumstances and chase after them, thinking that this is going to bring you some good luck. No, 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 no. This is what makes you a victim of reality, because the level of your effectiveness in a non-conscious state is no more than 5 to 10%. Now, in the following weeks, we're going to go through how we can stroll through this dream, how we can take control of our reality, and how we are fractal aspects of one source, and we have everything we need to know within our own universe. So stay tuned, share this YouTube with family and friends and loved ones, subscribe to the channel, and definitely have a look at the description below. And if you feel called, you can have a free discovery call with me in light of further coaching with me in 1 or 2 of my coaching packages. And I also have an online course that's on sale at the moment for half the price, called Coming Back to You, that's also in the Linktree description below. So until next week, wholeness and balanced vibrations.